Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series in officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Well, here we are, week number 3 of the American Sim Racing League Sportscar Championship, where we feature new versus old equipment, the old Daytona C7 Prototype versus modern day machinery in the GT3 class. I almost called the muscle cars in, but this is Racers Nexus. I'm Rob Campbell. In the booth with me tonight, as usual, Brian Zinn. Welcome in, Zinn. We're at a little bit of a historic layout here at Indianapolis this week.
Yeah, as you said, a little bit of old school versus new school, but we're on an old school circuit with the 2009 layout of the Indianapolis road course. Definitely something that is not used very often on the iRacing service, and one that I'm glad to see is being used tonight.
Yeah, it's I guess it's kind of fitting for this league with the mix, as you said, the old cars versus new machinery, where we saw the National Historic layout last week at Mexico City. Where did we start off? Daytona. I guess Daytona hasn't really changed much over the years, but little updates here and there. Next week, we're going to head to Nürburgring Grand Prix. So, again, that's a track that doesn't necessarily have a historic layout on it. But I think later on in the season, if I remember correctly, which now that I mentioned, let's take a look at the schedule, see what we got coming up. You can see we're week 3 here in Indianapolis. Next week we head to Nürburgring. Sandown for week 5. That one's going to be interesting with the multi-class here. It's not a very big track. It's going to be tight confines. Barber for week number 6. Charlotte Roval in week 7 after both of us crapped on that track last week. Where we head there. But we have another legacy track, Silverstone Legacy. I kind of like that better than the new Silverstone, to tell you the truth. For week 8, week 9 at Monza. Then we're going to round things up at Sebring. So still a ton of great tracks ahead down the schedule here, is it?
Yeah, absolutely. And just going to week 9 there, highlighting Monza in the vein of chaos. Not only is it Monza, which is chaotic enough, but it's Monza Combined, which uses the old historic 1960s oval as well. So that's going to be a lot of fun. If anybody's doing the officials this week, you'll probably be you'll be very familiar with that layout of Monza, since a lot of series are running the combined layout. But yeah, just like the machinery, a blend of old and new, so too is the track schedule. So going to be a lot of good fun down the stretch in this series. So had good rounds so far at Daytona and Mexico City, and we're going to continue it on tonight here at I'm going to call it historic Indianapolis GP circuit. Just keeping with the theme here.
Yeah, I think when I was looking up to do the circuit information here tonight, which I should pop that up here, take a look at the track map. When I was looking it up, I think they were actually calling it were they calling it historic or something else? Anyways, it had a historic essence to it. But as you can see on screen, we are at the Indianapolis Grand Prix road course, which was the layout they used from 2008 to 2013. Indy itself opened in 1909. This layout here specifically 2.534 miles, 4.078 kilometers, and features 13 corners, one less corners in than what we have today on the modern circuit.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting when you compare the new layout to this layout. It looks drastically different, but places that got cut out and added to, they kind of match up and end up the same track length basically, and the same number of corners almost. But yeah, I'm kind of partial to this layout. I love getting to use the Indy oval turn 1 as the final sector leading onto the front straightaway. Just kind of has a nice epicness to it, unless you're Michelin tires in the 2005 United States Grand Prix, but we're not going to touch on that tonight. But speaking of history, yes, this was the layout, or more or less the layout that was used for the reincarnation of the United States Grand Prix from 2000 to 2007. It's had its share of controversial moments. The top of that list definitely being that tire fiasco with the Michelin tires taking out half the grid and them sitting in the pits and not taking the race start. So that was, you could say, probably the nail in the coffin for the U.S. Grand Prix until COTA came around, their Circuit of the Americas. But oh well, it's just an earmark in the long storied history that is Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Yeah, absolutely. I find this layout here is kind of more reminiscent of, say, like Daytona, where you do a lot more driving on the actual oval section of the track. Is for some reason this cam that we got here doesn't want to pick up the backside of the oval here, where Brody Gunter's just doing some power laps all the way around. So we'll see, pick him up a little bit later. But we do have a points championship here. We should probably take a look at that while qualifying's underway. Still got about halfway left in qualifying. Let's see how our drivers are situated coming into this one. In the prototype class, our top 5 goes as follows, with Christopher Hill leading the way, 82 points, 5 points up on Damian Dania. Brian Dees in 3rd place, Travis Fleming in 4th, with Dave Seats currently in 5th. You'd be surprised, Brody Gunter not up there. Multiple winners so far in the first couple weeks, but unfortunately for him, he's been unable to participate in the second race each night, so not able to capitalize on full points. How's things looking in GT3s, in?
Yeah, you got the perennial favorite in Keone Madero that's currently at the top of the standings. He's got a 13-point lead over Victor Aldrich, and Corey Rutherford is currently in P3, sitting on 66 points. And then it's a close battle for 4th and 5th and 3rd, actually, too, with just 2 points separating Ty Marasco from Corey Rutherford, and then Daniel Miglin is currently 3 points adrift to Ty Marasco. So a close battle for 3rd through 5th, and top 2 kind of sitting in their own little bubbles at the moment.
Yeah, we'll see if maybe it gets shaken up here tonight at Indy. And over on the team side of things, our top 5 in the teams category, Team Watson Racing leading the way, 13 points ahead of MFRD. Work in Progress Racing, team number 1, sitting in 3rd, 10 points back of MFRD, and another 10 points back in 4th. We got TWR SJ Division and Limitless Motorsports rounding out the top 5 here. I think we got about 10 or 11 teams in the championship. All of them, not much division between either of the teams here racing tonight, is in. So should be interesting to see what's in store. And we should probably remind our viewers out at home, if it's the first time turning in, as we see Ty Marasco taking a bit of a trip off track, that the teams have to be a combination of a prototype driver and a GT3 driver. They can't have just 2 prototype drivers, or they can't have 2 GT3 drivers. It has to be a combination of at least both classes.
Yeah, definitely a unique element to this championship. You don't see that a lot in leagues that run a team championship, but it's kind of nice, though. You know, it allows for variety, a mix of driver talents, some that may be preferring the GT style of driving compared to the old school prototype driving, but just a unique element of this old versus new battle that we have in this league here.
Yeah, and if you're at home watching thinking, you know what, I think this might be a fun league to get into and join, you can do so by finding the Discord in the description of the video. That'll take you right to the league's Discord, and then you can get yourself signed up. If you're thinking these old prototype cars look like a ton of fun to drive, which they are a legacy car, which I think it's only $295 or something from iRacing. If you don't own the car already, next to nothing to buy this, versus the was it $14-15 now for a new car in iRacing. So definitely a value option there, Zin.
Yeah, absolutely. And you and I were talking offline before the broadcast started about how much we really enjoy the Corvette DP and would wish to see it in more kind of official use. You know, we were talking of how we would reshape a couple different series in iRacing to use some of that legacy content, and top of that list is this Corvette Daytona Prototype. So as you said, if you're sitting at home watching, saying this looks like a lot of fun, this car sounds great, looks great, I want to drive it, find that link in the description and come join the fun.
Absolutely. As it looks like Damien Dania is our final car on track with qualifying just about done. Damien sharing his cam again here this evening. He looks like he's turned the lights on this week, though, Zin, so we can actually see what's going on out there. And then we have another cam, Avery Hart. And I don't know if he's doing a little bit of meditating here before we get going racing, but see, he's getting in the zone, ready to do 2 heats here. The first heat, 20 minutes of action, then we'll resort the entire field. I shouldn't say resort, we'll restack the entire field. Reverse order where they finish for another 40-minute heat, which will have to have a pit stop involved at some point in time. That's actually a little bit of a tricky situation here at Indianapolis, with the long pit entry here. Where the start finish line is, sometimes it throws off your fuel calculator, and I know I've been caught out by this before, where my fuel calculator take and say I have another lap of fuel, but it's calculating my pit stall being before the start finish line, and if your pit stall is long after the start finish line, you might get caught short on fuel.
Yeah, absolutely. Indy known for its very long pit lane, so definitely something our drivers will have to watch out for. But qualifying's over, so let's run our way through the starting grid and see where everybody's going to line up tonight.
Absolutely. Let's take a look here at our Daytona prototypes, with Brody Gunter sitting on pole, with Damien Dania to his outside, Christopher Hill and Derek Tyndall. Somebody Brian Zindo as well here are going to start in 4th place. Dave Seats in 5th, with Rob Henry in 6th. Joshua Rutherford in 7th place, with Brian Dees in 8th. Travis Fleming in 9th. Avery Hart going to start in 10th. Roman Curdy and James Watson going to round out our prototype field. What do we got shaping up over in GT3s?
Yeah, our current championship leader, Keone Maduro, is going to take top spot in GT3, and to his outside is going to be Joshua Matichek, a new driver this week in the GT3 class. In row 2, we're going to find Corey Rutherford and Mike Hamlin, and behind them is going to line up Ty Marasco and Jordan Journeau. Row 4, you're going to find Victor Aldrich and Ken Estep to his outside. Row 5, we're going to find Ken Estep in 8th spot, and he's going to round out our GT3 field.
Yeah, we're short a couple GT3s compared to the prototypes. So again, if you're interested in racing, hop in there. You can hop in and do either one of the classes, but either one is fun. Looks like we finally figured out the gridding situation here, Zin. We've got the prototypes ahead of the GT3s this week, so it looks like we're going to start off on the right foot this time.
I see a couple of them sitting in the far back, so maybe not fully figured out, but either way, as you'll see shortly, they'll do the class split with the GTs pulling to the side and letting the prototypes work their way through. So even though some of those guys in the back did not get a qualifying time in, they're not going to be hurt too bad by starting behind the GT3 cars. But I personally would go for the chaos move and make them start behind the GT3 field.
Can't say I blame you there at all. Can't say I blame you there at all. The field rolling away, and while we got a moment here, let's take a second to a shout out here to our channel sponsor, Apex Sim Racing. Find yourself a 5% discount code in the description of the video. Get yourself 5% off anything they sell in store, from their own brand of Apex Sim Racing accessories to wheelbases, wheels themselves, chassis, basically everything you need to get out on track here racing with these drivers tonight. And also all of our cameras being provided by Track Cams for Gourmets, trackcams22.com. We thank them again, and should be some great action shots here tonight. So Zin, multi-class at a Roval, a fairly short lap here as well. So what are you thinking as far as overlap? When should we expect to start seeing the Corvette prototypes starting to get into the back of the GT3 field?
Yeah, I expect it'll take a few laps, maybe 5 laps or so is kind of what I'm thinking. But Definitely going to be interesting. Our prototypes do not have ABS or traction control, so you're probably going to see some challenges, especially going down in turn one. If there's any sort of overlap where the GT cars can get way harder and way deeper in the brakes than the prototypes can. You know, the prototypes are going to have the aero help, but as you slow down, that aero peels away from the car and starts working against you. So don't know if it'll be quite as bad as Daytona. We had some drivers last week that were saying it was kind of, they were expecting it to be a mix of Daytona and Mexico City as far as pace differential in some of these brake zones. So we'll have to keep an eye on that and see how it plays out. But I expect a lot of passing to be done down in turn one with that long run out of turn 12 through oval turn one and heading down across the row of bricks that is the start finish line. Another unique feature of Indianapolis. But as we get ready to go green, lights are off the pace car, and these prototypes are going to fire off very quickly.
Yeah, as we're heading reverse direction is what you would normally see here if you're watching the IndyCar racing or NASCAR. Heading backwards, turn one is the actual last corner on this layout, and turn four actually turns into be turn number one, I guess. But we are off. Brody Gunter, Damian Daniel going to lead them down into turn one. As you see them fanning out 3, 4, 5 wide into turn one. Who's going to bite the bullet here is in, as we see a little bumping from Daniel and Gunter, but Christopher Hill all the way up into P1 from third spot. Nice run for him.
Yeah, Christopher Hill, he got a taste of leading in the feature race last week when Damian Dania had his connection issues and Brody Gunter had to drop due to other commitments, and he's not wasting any time getting to the point on this race here. He got tired of sitting behind Brody and Damian last week, and he wants to make them look at his taillights this week. So excellent move from Christopher. Took that 3 wide, was the last of the late breakers, made it stick, and he's holding on to it halfway through lap 1 as there's been chaos in the GT3 behind them.
Yeah, we've got cars everywhere. One of those GT3s is Corey Rutherford, the chief admin of the league. Some heavy damage on the front of that car. It's been a rough couple weeks here for Corey. We'll see if we can get that straightened out. But Joshua Rutherford, his brother, having to make his way around Roman Curdy, doing the Barbie prototype, spins around just in front of a number of cars. It's a mixture of prototypes and GT3s due to the carnage we've had to kick off the start of this race.
Yeah, something happened to Derek Tyndall. He was down in the middle of the GT3 field recovering from something. Barbie is not having a dream world at the moment, trying to avoid dodging cars. We get a replay here of Derek. Looks like he's going to run wide, just lock the brakes up and get out in the dirt. So self-inflicted wound there, but doesn't look like he collected. I say that, and he almost gets collected by a Porsche that's running off track. I don't know if he knows that's not the Dakar version of that GT3R. Yeah, this replay, Damian Daniel on the outside, he goes to turn in and gets rear-ended. I'm not sure who's in that yellow prototype that ran into the back of him. I don't know if that was Dave Seats or another yellow Corvette Daytona Prototype, but yeah, just a massive schmozzle going in turn one. But that's what Indy road course is known for. That's the action area right there. I think I would put that on the list of top 5 most chaotic turn ones, shortly behind Monza and Portland.
Yeah, it was a bit of a hectic start, but looks like everything's starting to get cleaned up here a little bit. Our drivers getting their feet and grips under them, but we got a battle here right now between Christopher Hill and Damian Dania as Brody Gunter has moved back around Hill to get himself up top, and now Hill feeling some pressure from Damian Dania. We know there's championship implications here between these two drivers sitting atop of the points haul in prototype class. Dania down a few points on Hill coming into this one, so both of them going to try and keep the other driver in behind them. Brody Gunter doing what we've seen him do in race ones all through the season so far, is in out front, leading the way.
Yeah, in the chaos of the first couple laps, you know, Christopher Hill took the lead, but Brody Gunter collected himself, got away from that 3-wide incident in turn one, and ran down and passed Christopher Hill. And as you said, our top 2 in the championship right now are sitting second and third on track. And Damian, he's fast. He's not going to want to sit behind Christopher for very long. So look for him to be aggressive and try and get a move done potentially into one of these heavy braking zones. Damian showing that he's been very good on the brakes throughout this season, and I expect no different here tonight.
Yeah, I think you're right there. As we take a look at the battle for second place in GT3, we got Ty Marasco holding down that spot. New driver this week, Joshua Modicek, sitting in third spot. He is trying to take that spot away from Marasco. Marasco, we saw, was fairly competitive last week at Mexico. I see a little bit of smoke kicking up. That prototype of Rob Henry up ahead of him, as you mentioned. No ABS on these prototype cars, so it's not unusual to see them locking up a tire here or there heading into the corners.
No, definitely not. It's very easy to lock the front tires and produce some tire smoke, as you saw in front of these two. And yeah, Ty Marasco, he had kind of a rough heat race, if I recall, at Mexico City, but not a bad feature race, and recovered and produced some good points. But they're all chasing Keanu Maduro, who once again is just taken off into the distance, left everybody else behind to fight amongst themselves. But great battle shaping up here between Modicek, who, as you said, is new this week, and that very nice looking McLaren, if I do say so myself, and the very clean matte black and chrome Mustang of Ty Marasco, as we see Rob Henry in the Martini livery car. Another very sharp looking car. There's a lot of great looking cars in this series, Rob. You're noticing that?
Yeah, there's I always a big fan of the retro-esque paint schemes, like the Martinis, the Wheelin paint scheme that somebody's been driving. I think it might have been Christopher Hill in week 1. He drove the Wheelin paint scheme. I'm always a sucker for a retro theme, especially when somebody throws the Castrol white, green, and red paint scheme on any car. I don't even care if it's a proper paint scheme that was used on that car. It always looks sharp.
You know, I love the Castrol paint jobs, but they don't love me. I have this weird habit where I constantly get involved with wrecks with either people that are in a Lightning McQueen paint, which is just a meme in and of itself, or they're in a Castrol paint. It's a running joke with me and my teammates that if I load into a race and there's a Castrol paint job, I'm probably going to get hit by it. I love the paint job. I've loved it since Gran Turismo and the JGTC era on the Supra. I don't know why it doesn't love me back.
It's just one of those things. It's it's your version of the Red Bull livery. Everybody else wants to stay away from the Red Bull livery.
So, yeah.
You got to stay away from the Castrol oil. As we take a look here at our battle up at the sharp end of the field, Christopher Hill back up front. He's gotten around Brody Gunter. Damian Daniel, though, has been unable to get around either one of these drivers, get himself up in the sharp end of the race here, Zin. So I'm going to suspect he might be patience might be tossed out the window here a little bit. We know Daniel likes to get himself up the sharp end of the field. He's right there, but Hill and Gunter have both taken their turns leading this race. Daniel yet to do so.
Yeah, and Dania, after last week when he had the connection issues that dropped him out of the win, he kind of made a comment in the Discord saying that he guess he's going to have to win the rest of the races from here on out. So definitely a man on a mission as we see him go down the inside of Brody Gunter there and make the move stick, and he's immediately on the gearbox of that 101 Corvette DP in front of him, driven by Christopher Hill.
As we take a look back here from Christopher Hill himself, you can see Daniel lurking in behind, as you said. Gunter fell back a little bit off this pack once Daniel got around him. So I'm not sure if he had an issue there or just trying to cool the tires a little bit, Zin.
Yeah, I'm not sure. This is a tricky layout, and certainly for some people this could be the first time that they're running it. So I don't know if Brody's just having an issue coming to grips with the layout of the track at speed. You know, it's different in practice when you're running by yourself or hot lapping versus when you up the blood pressure in the competition of a race. But yeah, he's he got himself to the lead after a couple of laps, and then he got ran down by both Christopher Hill and Damian Dania, and they're pulling away to the tune of almost 2.5 seconds now. So not sure what's up with Brody Gunter. Definitely not characteristic of what we've seen so far this season. And knowing that he's not able to do the feature races, this could be not a good night for him, but we'll see if he can recover in the next 11.5 minutes.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on them as we also got focus going on the main screen here. We got Derek Tyndall Currently in 4th place, being chased by James Watson and Brian Dees. And we got our battle for top spot on the inlay, where Damian Dania into turn 1 is taking that spot away from Christopher Hill. So I was kind of ragging on him a little bit there. Zin said he hadn't been out sharp into the field yet. He's maybe he was listening and said, I'll prove those guys wrong. But now the race being led by Damian Daniel. We'll see if Christopher Hill able to snatch that back away, as this battle for 4th place starting to get a little spicier, as James Watson now closing in on the back of Derek Tyndall.
Yeah, Derek had that lap 1 incident where he ran wide in turn 4 or turn 5, I think, and has recovered back up from 7th or 8th to be running 4th at the moment. But as you said, he's currently being ran down by James Watson in the TWRS machine. So we'll see if Derek can hold off the pressure. It's got a little bit of an ebb and flow. Certain sections James closes in, and other sections it seems Derek's able to stretch the gap a little bit. So seems like each driver's got their strong part of the track, and we'll see who can put a more complete race together in the last half of this heat race.
Yeah, I think those are always the fun, most enjoyable races, I guess, when you're battling somebody and you might be a little better on half the track, they're a little better on the other half the track, and the two of you are constantly trying to find that edge where you need to pick up a little bit of time versus the other driver you're battling. It's just that strategy and that cat and mouse I always find the most enjoyable, versus, you know, if you're a couple seconds ahead of somebody and you're just kind of cruising around. It's that extra little, you know, strategy, kind of the chess match to it. Where am I going to find that extra 10th? Where can I find another 10th or 2 if you're the guy that's a little faster to get away from that car behind you?
Yeah, speaking of being within a 10th, we got Jordan Janot sniffing all over the back of the Acura in front of him, driven by Victor Aldrich. Speaking of differences in drivers, you know, you don't have that in Daytona Prototype to worry about differences in machines, but you do in GT3, although funny to say that these are both V6 turbocharged engines powering these mid-engine rocket ships at the moment. But Jordan Janot powers his Ferrari around the Acura and takes P3 away for the moment.
Yeah, it looks like Aldrich, though, not ready just to settle with losing that position to Jorno. He wants that podium, final step on the podium position back, putting a ton of pressure on him, as we got another battle for the lead here at the sharp end of the field. Christopher Hill going to move around Dania back into top spot, but almost lost the back in through turn 1. Dania trying to take advantage of it, but Hill able to close him off. And we still see Gunter kind of tagging along in behind, 1.7 seconds back. I wonder if he's maybe just thinking these guys might come to blows here, Brian, kind of hanging back a little bit, watching what's going on up ahead.
I think that thought has definitely entered his mind, and I mean, you could see it on that shot going in turn 1. Damian and Christopher both are on the limit of these cars. You know, they definitely don't want to lose to the other one. They know the championship's pretty much between them, with Brody not able to compete in all the races this season, and so you know, they've got the measure of each other. They're going to blows. This is what you love to see, and so yeah, to your point, Brody may be saying, you know, when you get hard racing, eventually there's going to be a little bit of contact, and I don't want to be a part of it. I want to be the one picking up the pieces, saying, thanks, guys.
Absolutely. As all, it looks like Watson's been able to get around Tyndall. That's going to move Watson up into 4th place. That's going to drop Tyndall down to 5th. So now we'll keep an eye on here to see if Tyndall can find his way back around Watson to regain that position. But James Watson, by via of the, I guess, a little out of position sort on the grid for the cars that didn't qualify. They started in behind the GT3s. He's up 15 spots, so he had to work his way all the way through the GT3s, through the back half of the prototype field, up into 4th spot. Some nice run here for James Watson right now.
Yeah, he's up 8 positions just in class, so definitely the biggest move of the race so far. It took him a minute to get going. I'm sure he probably got delayed with that chaos on lap 1 with the GT3 cars and even in the Daytona prototypes themselves, so had to avoid all that and get his footing underneath of him. But with 3/4 of this race done, he's certainly climbed his way up, and if it wasn't for the fact that they were 14 seconds back of Brody, they might be in the hunt for a podium. But this battle's not done. You know, Derek's a fast guy. He's still getting to grips with this car, so I'm expecting him to probably try and make a move before everything's said and done, and If not, I'm sure he'll take the invert and try and hold off James going into the next race. So, but speaking of things not done yet, as you see on the insert picture there, Damien and Christopher are still battling it out. Damien looking for every which way to go around him. He's looking left and right and left and up and down and every which way, trying to go around Christopher and make it stick. He's going to try the outside, but it's going to become the inside going into turn 2. They're going to touch doors, but keep it going straight. Well held from those guys. Speaking of keeping it straight, Brody Gunter did not do that going into turn 1. Looks like based on the smoke, he might have locked up the rears and maybe had a half spin himself there.
Yeah, let's take a look at what happened to Gunter. Oh, it looks like he might have just downshifted a little early there. Zin locked up the rear end. It just snap hooked around on him.
Yep, that'll do it.
Looks like something might happen to Joshua Rutherford too as well. And I'm going to say it's probably a carbon copy of what we just saw happen to Gunter, yeah. So it looks like these prototype cars very sensitive to shifting down a little too early. And we've seen this happen a number of times in the first 2 seasons where the car just snaps around under braking. So I guess it's a differential issue on the back end of these things. Again, it's a legacy car, so it hasn't been updated all that much to today's modern iRacing standards. That's an issue that they had on a number of the cars that had locked rear ends in many, many years past.
Yeah, these cars not having the new updates that these GT3 cars have, or even some of the newer prototypes. So definitely could still be having that issue. I'm also trying to remember if they were needing a blip on the downshift or if they were full sequential or not. So could be a case of just didn't match the revs properly as well when they were going down through the gears, trying to get it slowed up for turn 1, but could be that differential issue as well. But somebody not having an issue is our chief admin, Corey Rutherford. He's had a nice recovery drive. He's currently on the back of the Ferrari of Jordan Janot in 4th place. Victor Aldrich, who Jordan was battling with earlier, has gotten back around him and has stretched that lead out to just over a second or so. But I expect that lead to grow a little bit. Well, definitely will now, as something happened to Jordan back there. Don't know if Corey gave him a little assistance or he lost that fully on his own.
Let's take a look here. Oh, I might have had a little help there. I'm not sure. Looked like there was some room, and Corey tried to stick the nose up in the inside, but either way, Journeau is around, so we'll see if he can regroup and recover. But yeah, as you mentioned, Victor Aldrich just ahead of them, but Joshua Matichek and Keone Majuro are well gone in this class. Matichek about 13 seconds ahead of Aldrich, and then Majuro another 9 seconds up ahead of them. So Majuro doing what we've seen him do the first 2 weeks, get out front and run away early on.
Yeah, that battle for 3rd and 4th between Victor Aldrich and Corey Rutherford is about to be a crowded piece of track, because we got our leaders coming up on them, and they were banging doors going into turn 1 at the start of this lap. So heated battles all over the place, and they're about to converge in the same spot briefly as they're making their way run on the way down to turn 8.
And see Christopher Hill sending it into turn 8 there, sliding the back end around. Dania right there too as well. Looks like Tyndall's been able to get back around Watson too as well in that battle for 4th and 5th place. But we're keeping an eye here on the leaders as they try and work through for 3rd and 4th place in GT3. Is their GT3 car is going to hold tight on the line. It's going to allow our prototypes to go up around the outside. Hill going to get ahead of them. Dania going to have to wait a second before he can tuck in. But we saw this at Daytona, where the prototypes and the GT3 is very similar top speed. You see that right here. They don't necessarily run away from them. They're very, very comparable top speed. Oh, they bang doors again heading into turn 1's in.
Yeah, like I said, these guys are on the limit, and they do not want to give an inch to either one. Just really good racing to watch. I'm sure they might disagree on whether enough room is being left, but they may also say that it's quite enjoyable and hard racing. So either way, everybody's still going in the proper direction. And yeah, as you said, that was something we were wondering about talking to our drivers at the end of the Mexico race last week, was how it was going to be at the end of this long straightaway, knowing that the GT3 car's top speed is very similar to the top speed of the Corvette Daytona Prototype, and you saw it there. They were able to get around third and fourth place, Victor and Corey in GT3 going through the banking, but halfway down the straightaway, they were not gaining any more time. So definitely an interesting thing to see, byproduct of that old versus new school, as we've said at the top of the show. And but throughout the rest of the lap, those prototypes are just gone.
Yeah, they've got significantly more downforce as our leaders coming across the line to pick up the white flag for the last lap. And just like that, 20 minutes has gone by here, Brian, as we see Dania trying to make a move to the outside. Looks like he backed out a little bit, didn't even try and make the move on Hill into turn one. Not sure if he's trying to set him up for the straightaway here between the start of the infield section and then what brings us into the backside of the infield section here. So we'll see if this was a strategy play by Dania, not making the move into turn one, and try and capitalize here. So we'll see if Christopher Hill, what kind of defense he mounts to any charge from Dania.
Yeah, I thought Damien might have backed off, trying to see if he could get a better run through the apex of turn one and maybe get a over-under situation into turn two, but that didn't play out there. But last lap, these battles are going to be settled here at the end of this, what do we say, it was 3.5 mile track length, but got the battle for 12th at the moment between Corey Rutherford and
Aldrich.
Victor Aldrich. Sorry, that's not for 12th, it's for 5th. It might be 12th overall. That was good. I was like, my brain was having a fit. I'm like, that there's not 12 GT3 cars. And I didn't think Corey had another incident there, so sorry about that. My brain short-circuited. But coming across the start-finish line, Damien's going to look to the inside. It's going to be a drag race.
Oof. Whoa, what a battle to the line. Looks like Hill was able to hold off Dania. And then Aldrich and Rutherford, they're making their way around to the line too as well. Looks like Aldrich going to hold on for final step on the podium in GT3. Derek Tyndall able to hold off James Watson at the line as that battle comes down to the end. And we're just waiting for a couple more of our prototype drivers to cross, and then that'll make everything official here for the first 20-minute race. We'll take a brief couple-minute warm-up, relax, washroom break, call it what you will, and we'll line them back up for 40 minutes of action here again at Indianapolis as we pick up Rob Henry crossing the line. 8th in class for him, a couple of incidents early on for him, so he'll be looking to improve in the feature race.
Yeah, if our timing tower is accurate, that finish at the line was 15 thousandths of a second.
Yeah, it didn't get much closer than that at the end, so we'll see if they can provide the same type of excitement here after 40 minutes is in coming up. But let's take a look at our final result. Oh, sorry, it looks like we're actually just waiting for a couple of drivers to cross the line to finish up here, and then we'll have official results, and we'll take a look at them. But you know what? I don't think we could ask for much more in that race. We had battles up and down the top 5 in Prototype. We had a battle for 3rd place in GT3 coming to the line. It's going to be an exciting 40-minute feature race.
Yeah, now we're going to double that action for 40 minutes versus 20. It's going to be a lot of fun. So, yeah, our GT3 Heat 1 results, Keanu Maduro just walked away with that one. He was unchallenged from the start, started from pole, took the win. He was followed up on the podium by Joshua Matichek. Good showing from him, a new driver to the series, and Victor Aldrich holding off Corey Rutherford for that final step on the podium. And behind them, Jordan Janot, after the little tangle with Corey, finishes 5th, followed by Ty Marasco, Mike Hamlin, and Ken Estep.
And over in our prototype field, we saw Christopher Hill able to hold off Damian Dania by 13/100ths of a second. They were finished up 7 seconds over Brody Gunter, our final step in the podium. Derek Tyndall able to outlast James Watson for 4th. Watson comes home in 5th. Dees, Rutherford, Henry, Fleming, Curdy, and Seats round out the field, with Avery Hart not making the grid. So we have about just under 4 minutes of warm-up here to go. We'll take a quick little break, and we'll be back here for the feature race. Stick around.
There might be some rain coming through. Rain is close. The session has been declared wet. No sign of this rain stopping. Rain is clearing up. Rain should be gone for now. Nothing but sunshine all day.
Okay, and we're back again. We got a couple drivers on track taking advantage of the warm-up time. Those drivers, Brody Gunter, looking to improve off of his third place, although we know he won't be able to stick around for the whole race, but he's getting himself a little more acquainted. Ty Marasco out there too as well. But what did that 20 minutes show you here for the 40-minute race? Are we expecting a lot more of the same, or are we going to see maybe a little more toss-up in the battles here?
My first thought would be like, well, maybe these guys will be a little bit more patient, being that they got 40 minutes in a pit stop and got to make their tires last. But after what we just saw in the heat race, I expect these guys to go just straight to blows for 40 minutes. It's going to be fast. It's going to be furious. I don't expect the intensity to be ramped down at all from especially Damian Dania and Christopher Hill. Those guys, I don't think they stayed more than 2 inches apart for the last 10 minutes of that race.
Yeah, I lost track of how many lead changes we had, but I think it was up over 10 lead changes all throughout that one in the prototype side of things. You see Brody Gunter just waving to the crowd as he crosses the line. Barney waving the checkered flag to signify the end of the warm-up session. So we'll let timing and scoring reset, and we'll take a look at how everybody's going to grid up here for the feature race. There we go. Let's take a look. In prototype, Ken Estep going to start on, sorry, this is in GT3. Ken Estep going to start on pole with Mike Hamlin to his outside, Ty Marasco and Jordan Giorno going to start in third and fourth, with Corey Rutherford, Victor Aldrich in row 3 and 5th and 6th, and Joshua Monachek and Kiani Majuro are top 2 from race 1 to start tail on the GT3 field. How are things looking in prototypes there, Zin?
Yeah, in the Corvette Daytona Prototype class, we got Avery Hart sitting on pole, Dave Seats to his outside, followed by Roman Curdy and Travis Fleming in row 2. Row 3, we got Rob Henry and Joshua Rutherford, followed by Brian Dees and James Watson, Derek Tyndall and Brody Gunter, and then our top 2 from last race are going to be on the back row, and we find Damian Dania and Christopher Hill.
There we go. The grid is set. Pace car starting to pull away. See our GT3s pull over and let the prototypes through. Got reset here, so at least this time as in all of our prototype drivers will be ahead of the GT3 drivers. They don't have to try and make their way through the back end of the field. So it should be interesting here now We'll see if those drivers who had a little bit of issue early on navigating through the lap trap, well, I guess they weren't lap traffic at that time, but navigating through the traffic, have a little easier time now.
Yeah, I still maintain for the entertainment value that the DP should start at the back with the full field invert that we had, but I don't make the rules for this league. I just broadcast it. So, but yeah, all the Daytona prototypes will be in front of the GT3 field. But as we saw in the heat race, that doesn't necessarily mean that everybody's going to get away scot-free. You know, if they go 4 or 5 wide again going down turn 1, those GT3s could be piling into a wreck that's already happening. So it doesn't look like they give much space, which I'm happy to see. Something that I'm not going to get on my soapbox about iRacing officials in multi-class racing, but yeah, definitely something those GT3 cars are going to have to be aware for is potential lap 1 mayhem, or turn 1 mayhem, I should say.
Absolutely. Well, we got a moment here. Let's give a shout out to the league sponsors who have helped put all this on. The sponsor covering broadcasting this season is Purple Haze. Let's bring up Corey Rutherford's car, who's got Purple Haze plastered all over it. Purple Haze is a league member who remains anonymous but goes by Purple Haze. Loves to participate in the racing and donating to cover the broadcast of the season. So thank you to them. And then our intro music by Mullet Music Productions, which is Joshua Rutherford here in the hybrid cross paint scheme he's got out there on the car. So we'll see if he's able to do a little better here in race number 2. Had that spin in turn 1, about halfway through the race, starting in the second row beside Brian Dees, just behind Travis Fleming and Rob Henry.
Yeah, as we see coming off of the final corner, expect that iRacing pace car to dart into the pit lane. Looks like it just did, and field is in the hands of Travis Fleming as we're about to go green.
There we go, green flag is out. Off we go into turn 1. Will we see them go 3, 4, 5 wide into turn 1 again? I think they're trying to go 4 wide. They're going to back down to 3. Still a little dicey. Rob Henry going to lead them into turn 1. Brian Dees, though, up on the outside. Travis Fleming trying to take away second spot. Fleming fighting back. He's going to fall down to 3rd, but Damien Dania and Derek Tyndall all the way already up into 3rd and 4th place here, trying to move their way through the field quickly. Got those 2 yellow and black cars of Hill and Tyndall, making it a little difficult to differentiate the 2 of them here early on.
Yeah, once again, they fanned out, heading down in turn 1, went 4 wide from row 2, and little beating and banging going through first couple corners, but no harm, no foul. Definitely a lot cleaner this race start compared to last. So everybody is fighting for position at the moment, but for the most part, they're single file minus Brody and Derek back there, as we see Brody get around. And looks like Ty Marasco's had an off back in the GT3 field, and Keanu Maduro had a black flag that was given during the pace lap. I'm not sure what that was for, but I'm sure that's why he is currently sitting on pit road.
Yeah, it looks like, unfortunately for Marasco, not only did he have that off track, but struggling to get back on track there, losing the back end a couple times. Let's see what happened to him. He's trying to work around the inside of Jordan Journeau. Oh, cold tires on that Mustang, just lost the back end, and around it went.
Yeah, GT3s do have
again.
the new time. Oh man, he is just not having a good lap 1, is he?
No, it's a rough race for Ty Marasco. Let's see if maybe he can get things grouped up. Luckily for him, it's a 40-minute race, still plenty of time to try and work his way through the front, as we see Maduro back on track now, but he is right out in the thick of the prototype battle here as Rob Henry has been caught by Damien Dania and Christopher Hill. They quickly made their way from the back of the pack. He's in all the way up into 2nd and 3rd place. Brian Dees, James Watson, Brody Gunter, and Derek Tyndall all there 2 in tow. So our top 7 prototype drivers only separated by about 2.5 seconds.
Yeah, you could put a blanket over those guys. Looked like they kind of got bunched up a little bit with Maduro coming out of the pits and blending in. I'm not sure if I was in Keane's spot, if I maybe wouldn't have seen that on the relative and said, you know what, I think I'll just sit here for a few more seconds, let those guys go by. No harm, no foul. My race is already kind of cooked at the moment. But either way, they've all gotten around them, at least the first 7 in Daytona Prototype have. And as you said, you could throw a blanket over them, but we see Brody, unfortunately, as he has in weeks past, coming down to pit road to retire his car, which is going to free up Derek Tyndall and Brian Dees to battle in front. So we see a little bit of a lockup from Christopher Hill. As you said, that other yellow and black Corvette making things a little bit challenging to figure out who's who.
Yeah, Hill locked it up into turn 1. He's going to drop back a substantial amount here from Damian Dania, but Dania up in the top spot. I'm not sure what happened to Rob Henry, but he has fallen all the way back to 15th place. He's actually pulled it into the pits. So let's see if we can see what happened to our race leader, Henry, as they head into turn 1. He tried to duck in around. Dania got up on the curbing into the grass. Oh man, almost saved it. Oh, heavy hit into the wall for the Martini car.
Yep. Old school still hits the wall just as hard as new school, unfortunately, as Rob Henry found out there, and got towed back on the flatbed for his troubles, unfortunately. Tried to save it, just that final snap killed him, and that's unfortunately his day probably done. They do have a fast repair, so he'll be able to get back out, but he'll be a couple laps down, unfortunately, once the tow's done and car's fixed and all that sort of good stuff. But Damian Dania, this is drastically different from the battle that we watched in the sprint race. Not sure if this is strategic from Hill, maybe doing some stretching the fuel mileage or saving the tires. Looks like there's a giant cloud that just drifted over the track. Everything kind of got dark there for a minute. That'll cool things down for a brief bit. But yeah, definitely this is probably the biggest interval these guys have had all day.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that as we got a battle here as well for top spot in GT3. Joshua Matichek currently holding down that position. Corey Rutherford trying to take it away from him. Matichek finished second in the first race. Started at the tail end of the GT3 field. He's quickly moved himself up into the sharp end of the field, but feeling a ton of pressure right now from Corey Rutherford. Rutherford, a little bit of a rough race. That first 20 minutes didn't go the way he would have liked. Trying to capitalize here on twice the limit, or twice the time limit here. Race 40 minutes this time. We'll see if Corey Rutherford could maybe snatch away a win here this evening.
Yeah, I'd love to see that from Corey. He had a couple of bad luck rounds the last couple of weeks, so love to see him challenging for the lead at the moment in GT3. As we said, our chief admin for the league and one of the sponsors as well. We're rocking the anonymous sponsor and the can of Purple Rain. When I hear Purple Haze, I think back to Prince's Purple Rain. So I'm gonna say it's a familial inspiration there, and calling themselves Purple Haze. But whoever you are, thank you for sponsoring this league, and I'm sure Corey is appreciative as well. But falling back a little bit out of the draft there down the front straightaway. Not sure if that was just a bad run out of turn 11 or not, or just doing a little bit of lifting and fuel saving as well. But they've currently got the prototype of Travis Fleming behind him, recovering from a earlier race issue. As we see Christopher Hill on the insert there, he's going to lock up, fall further adrift of Dania at the moment. Dania currently sitting on just about 1.1 second lead over Christopher Hill.
We got battles for top spot in both classes, and you love to see it. But you had mentioned the cloud cover. I don't think we looked at the weather here this evening. We got a moment here. Let's take a look and see what the conditions are these drivers are dealing with. 64-degree air temp, 68-degree track temp. As you can see there, the conditions now cloudy, 82% humidity, no rain in the forecast, as the Daytona Prototype cars do not have rain tires, so we don't have to worry about seeing any rain all season. But relatively cool temps out here, Zane. Should bode well for tire wear.
Yeah, these tires are loving those cool track temps, and that cloud cover. This is only going to keep the temperatures down even longer. So definitely a happy condition for these tires. Even the GT3s with the new tire model, but especially the Daytona prototypes on the old one. As we see Victor Aldrich, he's sizing up Ferrari of Jordan Janot, looking to the inside. Just a dummy fake, nothing doing there. As they head down in turn 1 and turn 2. I gotta say, I have to tip my cap to Victor Aldrich running the Acura. It's kind of become a stepchild of sorts in the officials. Everybody seems to have kind of forgotten that the Acura exists, and it's one of my favorite GT3 cars. So I got to tip my cap to Victor for running the Acura and running it well, I might say as well, with a very good looking paint job on that number 88.
Yeah, the Acura, the Ferrari he's chasing, that Journeau's in and Rutherford's in, and then oh man, I just lost my train of thought of what the other car I was trying to think of. But oh, the BMW. Those 3 GT3s are very, I want to say they're probably the easiest GT3s to drive out of all of them. But you know, for the most part, GT3s are fairly easy to drive to start with. But they're very neutral in their handling. They don't tend to understeer. They don't tend to oversteer. They, you know, they're not the quickest in the straight line. They're just like, they're just good all-around cars, but don't really excel at any one thing. And I always enjoyed driving the Acura, but it's kind of a shame that, as you mentioned, it's kind of fallen by the wayside. But I think that's just natural with the sheer amount of GT3s we have in iRacing now, that you're always going to kind of lean to the ones that are more potent at that track each week. And with that that amount of cars to choose from, there's always going to be, you know, a good half a dozen that are going to be better than the rest of them. Unfortunately, the Acura just fallen out of favor from a lot of iRaces.
Yeah, and you know, it suffers too from the you know, it's not in official series anymore in real life, so you know, you can't sit there on the couch and watch it in IMSA or WC and go, I want to drive that, and hop on iRacing and remember that it's there. So unfortunately, it's not ran by any real life teams. Might have a couple appearances over in Japan and Super GT or GT World Challenge Asia or something like that, but by and large, not in any of the main series. But speaking of main features, going back to the top, the battle's back on, Rob, between Christopher and Damien.
Yeah, Christopher Hill has managed to claw his way back in to Damien Dania's kitchen, putting a ton of pressure. It's about the third or fourth corner. We've seen them go side by side here. Derek Tyndall right now up into third place, not too far back, with 3 seconds back. Loving seeing what he's seeing up ahead. The more they battle, that's more of a chance for him to get in there and try and be a part of that battle too as well. Maybe if he gets in there, those 2 yellow and black cars can kind of throw a fake on Damien Daniel. You won't know who's moved to which side of the track as in.
Yeah, Christopher's going, okay, let me use my decoy for a second here and confuse Damien. But there's been 4 or 5 times so far between this race and the sprint race that I've thought to myself that somebody needs to clip this and send it into iRacing for consideration on the iRacing top 10 whenever that comes back around. It's been a minute, I think, since I've seen them put an episode out. I guess they're too busy doing other things like a new graphics update, hashtag soon coming. I don't know. Anyway, but Christopher Hill, he's tucked up in that draft. He's going to go to the outside as Damien's going to hold the inside. Damien's going to drift back as they get down to turn 1, kind of pinch him up against the outside wall. But Christopher's clear. He's cleared him.
Yeah, Hill going to hold on to top spot. But funny you mentioned that. I think they finally released a top 10 this past weekend. Because I was watching it the other day. You didn't miss much, though. The top 10 was a little less than top 10-ish, I'd say. And you're probably right. Most of what we've seen in the 3 weeks of this series between Hill, Dania, and Gunter when he's been on track has been excellent. Door-to-door battling. They've bumped and banged a little bit here and there, but for the most part, it's been very courteous, very gentlemanly driving. And you love to see it as you see Derek Tyndall and James Watson eking ever so closer off in the background, getting closer and closer. That gap now under 3 seconds from Tyndall to Dania.
Yeah, I don't know if Derek and James have the outright pace to beat Christopher and Damien, but they keep battling and running side by side. It's definitely going to allow those two to close in and take this 2-car battle to a 4-car battle. But even regardless, I'm sure part of Derek's thought process is that you know, they can only run close together so many times before something's going to happen, whether it's Uncle Netcode stepping in and saying hello, or just flat out somebody making a mistake and taking one or both of these cars out. We don't want to see that, obviously, but it's just the inevitability. It happens in racing. So, and once again, they're going side by side. Man, Damien is just on the brakes. He's got that car on its limit as he's trying to cross over and switch back and do a loop-de-loop however he can to get in front of Christopher. I don't know what he's got left in his playbook that he hasn't tried yet, because I feel like he's tried everything and then some.
I thought we were on the verge of seeing a Hoonigan drift slide there by Dania into turn one, trying to make the move around the outside of Hill. But we found out last week Christopher Hill does actual IRL driving instruction at, trying to remember which track he said was his local track. I forget off the top of my head now is in. But so not surprising, we see him fairly competent of a wheelman here behind the car and having a more or less full control of it, where Damien Dania throwing a little more caution to the wind, trying to get later on the brakes, really trying to throw that car into the corner. It's been a pleasure to watch the two of these cars battling. And you know what? I'm going to take and say, Corey Mitchell in chat for the second week in a row, yes, you need to get in on this Corvette Daytona Prototype racing action. Free to join. Get in here, sign up, and let's see you on track next week.
Yeah, Corey, we need a Murder Motorsports livery Corvette in here. This car suits your style fantastically. We need to see you out here mixing it up with these guys. As we see at Christopher Hill, he's gonna take back the lead, or is he holding on to the lead? I forget. These guys are changing positions every corner. I forget who's defending and who's attacking.
Well, Hill's been able to hold on to the lead the last couple laps, not without an attempt by Damien Dania to get it, but that last time into turn one cost him a bit of time here. He's now fallen just under 2 seconds back. And you know what? You said that you don't think Tyndall has the outright pace, but Mr. Consistency here in third place has been able to catch up to Dania. Looks like Dania having to burn off a slowdown there, tapping the brakes on the straight to finally clear that. So he's going to have a beer full of Derek Tyndall here now.
Yeah, I'd be curious what happened there, because it looked like something happened in turn one or turn two. I don't know if Damien ran long and maybe cut the track trying to get back onto it or what, but just saw him drop back and had the flag next to his name, so he was serving that slowdown as we saw him brake to lead off the last bit of it on that back straightaway. But Damien on the inside here, I don't know if he might go over the curb on the inside. No, it's fine there.
Not sure where he would have got it, because turn 1 and 2 he was clear, unless maybe he jumped the curbs here. No, we're running the old layout, so it's not like he would have jumped the chicane to get that slowdown. So I'm not sure. We'll stick with it through the old horseshoe chicane here and see possibly where he might have picked up that. Yeah, I'm not sure where he would have got a slowdown here is in, but yeah, he definitely fell back in this area. Maybe he had a little bit of a hardware issue for a moment or two. We know he had that connection issue last week at Mexico, so maybe just a little blip on the radar for him.
Yeah, maybe a screen stutter or something, but I was about to say he got in front of Christopher Hill, but that's Derek Tyndall in the yellow and black Corvette. It's confusing even us in the broadcast booth, so I can only imagine what Damien's thinking sitting inside the cockpit. He's got one in front of him, one in the back, and I'm sure he's probably looking at the black box to figure out who's who there. But yeah, credit to Derek. He's been super consistent, let the guys in front of him make mistakes, and now he's about a second back from Damien. We'll see if he can close that gap and put some pressure on him and move into second place overall.
Yeah, you could almost say we've got a battle of Clone Wars going up front of the prototype field, but let's move away from them for a little bit. Let's head back to this battle in GT3 between Jordan Journeau and Corey Rutherford. Well, they've battled. That's allowed Joshua Monicek to open up a huge gap at the front of the field here, 14 seconds ahead of these guys. But these two are battling tooth and nail. We saw them come to blows in race number one. We'll see what happens here, but it looks like they've not backed down here, Zin. No quarter given, none taken at this point in time.
Yeah, and Corey ran a little bit deep there. That's allowed Jordan to get to his outside, but the track switches back to the right, which gives Corey the inside there. So not sure if that was a defensive move or just a lucky break from the slight mistake that he had. But I did hear them talking a little bit, so I'm sure they might have talked out whatever happened and buried any bad blood that may have stemmed from that little bump and run that we saw in race 1, but definitely no evidence of it. These guys have given each other perfect amount of room, been able to battle side by side very respectfully, very clean racing from these two, and it ain't done yet.
Oh, we see Journeau tucked in tight behind Rutherford. Oh, he's going to move out to the wall, almost into the wall.
Oh, I
there
thought
for
he was going to
Jordan.
smoke that wall there.
Almost into it for Jordan Journeau. They got the leader, Christopher Hill, catching up in behind them. They're going to be safe in through turn 1, but he might catch them in through the twisty stuff here. So they're going to have to keep their eyes on the mirrors as well as continuing this battle. As Christopher Hill not going to want to waste much time getting through them, as now Damon Dania now fallen almost 2 seconds back of our leader, Christopher Hill. Still unable to pull away from Derek Tyndall.
Yeah, I was going to say he's down to about a half a second or so behind Dania at the moment. So although it looked like he might have had a brake lockup or something, that gap's stretched back out to about a second. But depending on where they catch this battle for second place in GT3s, Damien and Derek, that is, might bunch things up or allow Derek an opportunity to slip past if he uses the GT car as a pick. As we see Jordan trying to make use of Christopher Hill going by, maybe slowing Corey down a little bit there, but nothing doing as they maintain status quo going through the back half of this lap.
Oh, Journeau's around.
I just had to say they maintain status quo, didn't I? Sorry, Jordan, I might have cursed you there a little bit.
Commentator's curse there for Jordan Journeau by way of Brian Zinn. So a direct all disgruntlement to Brian Zinn in Discord there, Jordan. But unfortunate for him. Let's take a look and see what happened. I don't think he got any contact with anybody. I think it was just a matter of just those quick snapback S's section. Oh yeah, the back end of that Ferrari just stuck
it's the
around.
Same corner he lost it in race 1, just this time without any assistance from Corey, because Corey was in front of him. So unfortunate to see. That was a fantastic battle, but looks like Jordan's taking the opportunity to come down pit lane and get some service. Not sure if that was forced or just said, you know what, my strategy's already blown. Come in, try and get some recovery done, maybe get some new tires strapped onto that Ferrari and attack in the second half of this race. Which, speaking of, Rob, we're already 20 minutes into this race.
Yeah, it's surprising how quickly it goes when you got well, we had 20 minutes worth of battles up and down the field, so it goes off a little quickly, but it looks like things getting sorted out, or sorry, spread out a little bit here. But as you mentioned, Journeau in for his service, so our drivers will have to make a pit stop at some point in time during this race. They are limited on fuel. They cannot make it the whole way, so we'll see drivers come in. I can say most of them should be coming in the next couple laps. Here's in. I don't suspect any tires on the GT3s, but we may see some tire takers on the prototypes.
Possibly, but with the track temps being so cool, I would expect these guys to run the full race on the same set of tires. I don't know if what the pit sequence is for the old cars. I know iRacing updated the pit sequence for IMSA, so that includes these new GT3 class cars, but I don't know what it is on the old Daytona prototypes, if any service happens at the same time, or if one has to be completed before the other starts, meaning tires, then fuel, or fuel then tires, whatever the order is.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it was only within the last, well, I don't want to say few seasons, it's probably been a couple years now, that when they made it so that you could change tires and fuel at the same time on the GT3s and on the GTPs back when they first came out. So I'm going to assume that these old prototypes, it's probably you take fuel and then change tires like it was for the longest time.
I suspect you are right. But James Monachek, he's copying Keanu Maduro's playbook from race 1. He's got himself out to a 19.5 second lead. He's been relatively untouched after he dropped Corey Rutherford early on in this race. And Corey Rutherford, after the spin from Jordan Giroux, he's got a massive lead over Victor Aldrich in P3. So I'm not sure if some of these gaps are artificial because of pit stops. So we know Jordan has come down to have his car serviced already, so he's good to the end of the race. But I don't know if Victor has pit yet. Looking at timing and scoring,
he pit
looks
on
like
lap
he
11.
has. Yes.
So Aldrich has come in.
Yeah, that
Who
42-second
else?
gap will close up when Corey comes into the pits.
Yeah, it looks like Aldrich's time, cone to cone, 53.4. As you said, 42 seconds separating Rutherford and Aldrich. So theoretically, if Rutherford has a similar pit stop time as Aldrich, Aldrich should take that position away.
That is what I'm thinking as well. So Victor Aldrich could have played things right with the undercut, proving successful if our timings are accurate. If I remember right from Mexico City, the pit timings were kind of all over the place, so a mix of strategies going on, which made things interesting. But going back to the top class, Christopher Hill, he's been relatively unchallenged since whatever that issue was that Damien Dania had that made him fall back and serve a slowdown penalty and allowed Derek Tyndall to close in a little bit. But Derek Tyndall, he's fallen back off the back of Dania's car. Was half a second, now it's about 2.5 seconds. So I'm not sure if that's sheer pace or some small mistakes, tire lockups and that sort of thing out of the 44 Corvette. But regardless, everybody's kind of evenly spaced in the top three, and then it's about 11.5 seconds back to James Watson in P4 at the moment.
Yeah, things spread out a little bit here. Tyndall now 3 seconds back of Dania. See if things get a little closer, as you mentioned, once pit stops cycle through. But Keane Majuro, we saw him, as you mentioned, get the black flag, went to the pits. I think he came out about a lap down, or very close to a lap down. When he did come out, he hasn't come in for his pit stop yet, Zin, but he's got himself up into 4th place. And right now, only 8 seconds back of Victor Aldrich, who has pit already. So Maduro still owes us a pit stop, but doing well right now to try and make up as many positions as he can. Getting a little bit of help from a couple of drivers who unfortunately wrecked out early on, but pushing forward the best he can. Came into this one leading the GT3 championship. I suspect with his win in race 1 should be enough to garner him enough points to lead heading into Nürburgring next week, but we'll keep our eye on it. Things might be getting a little closer in the GT3 field.
Yeah, and with our pit estimates being what they are, it's entirely possible that when Keane comes in to make his actual pit stop, he may still maintain that 4th spot over Jordan Giroux. But speaking of pit stops, we see our Daytona Prototype drivers take the pit lane now, but I also want to call attention to Joshua Matichek. He has pit from the lead in GT3s and come back out, and he's about 10 seconds ahead of Victor Aldrich at the moment.
Yeah, Matichek driving a fairly flawless race so far in this one, Zin. Got himself in between Corey Rutherford and Aldrich on track. So Aldrich has completed his pit cycle, so 27 seconds still ahead of Aldrich. That shows you how much of that gap that Matichek actually had before he went in to complete his pit cycle here, Zin, because he was actually 49 seconds in cone to cone, getting in and off pit road, and still comes out almost 30 seconds ahead of Aldrich.
Yeah, and our final 2 Daytona Prototype drivers have taken the pit lane, and Christopher Hill and Derek Tyndall, the yellow
Twins.
Corvette twins. Waiting to see if Corey Rutherford makes his trek down pit lane when he comes around. Looks like he is in pit lane as well, so that should be everybody in both classes now having completed their pit stops or in the process of completing their pit stops.
So now it'll just be a 13-minute sprint to the end. Hill back on track, but look at that. Damien Dania, a full 1.5 seconds quicker in and out of his stall. What Christopher Hill was, he is right back up into this battle now. They're going to renew their battle from the heat race. First 20 minutes, we saw how that finished, 0.13 of a second at the line. Could it be even closer this time, Zin?
If Damien Dania has his way, it'll be that close, but with him in front. So not sure what's going to shake out. As you said, under 13 minutes to go now Definitely much better pit stop from Dania. He was about 2 seconds down before the pit stops. Now he's under half a second back from Christopher Hill at the moment. So excellent pit execution from Dania. We'll see if he took enough fuel or just had a better in-lap or what, but that half second is much closer now as they're about to run out onto the Indianapolis Oval through Indy Turn 1 as they make their long way down towards Turn 1.
Yeah, this is such a much better run to the start-finish line than the current layout. You just get that extra little bit of pace running around the, as I said, which would be Turn 1 and 1.5, I guess, in between Turn 2, where the new layout you tuck back on just ahead of the pit lane entrance and then back out again. I find it kind of really throws a wrench in the flow of the track, where this one has a little more, a whole lot more flow, especially in these prototype cars, where you can really kind of let them leg out on the front straight. And we'll see here if Dania able to mount a charge. He's caught up to Hill, but catching the car ahead of you is one thing, then finding a way around him, a whole other ball of wax.
Absolutely. You know, some of the best drivers are the best drivers because they can drive defensively as well as they can offensively. So we'll see what Christopher Hill has in his bag of tricks to keep Dania at bay behind him. And we'll see what Damien has in store to try and get around Christopher and try and pull away this time too. As we saw in the sprint race, they could get in front of one another. They just couldn't pull away.
Yeah, the draft range seems to be very strong on these cars. I think we saw at Mexico, they were still picking up draft 1.2, 1.3 seconds behind the car ahead. So difficult to break the draft, especially here at Indianapolis, where you have the long front straight. And then even that short mid straight, kind of in between, what is that, turn 5 and 6 or 7 and 8? I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's enough there where you can, stay latched onto that car ahead of you, barring any mistake.
Yeah, absolutely. If you were watching the interval as Dania and Hill were making their way down to turn 1, the draft allowed Dania to close up by about tenth and a half, 2/10 or so, and any little mistake, locking of a front tire or anything going into turn 1 can either have that gap close even further or go the other way if the car following is the one that makes the mistake. Maybe brakes a little too late, doesn't account for that overspeed they have from the draft. And same thing too as they run down here into turn 8. It has the opportunity to grow even closer or grow further apart depending on how the drivers attack the brake zone.
Correct. As we see Dania falling back a little bit, that gap opening up to 0.8. Just give us an idea of how comparable these two drivers are. Both of their best laps, 120.62 for Christopher Hill, 120.64 for Damien Dania. So within 2/100ths of a second between the two of them. Derek Tyndall not too far back either, 120.88 for his quick time. Those are our only three drivers in the prototype field to dip into the 120s. So hats off to all three of those drivers. Very, very competitive lap times here this evening.
Yeah, and even looking at their last laps, they're the only three that are quicker than a 122, with all three of them being somewhere in the 121 range. So last lap, Christopher Hill was 0.3 faster than Damien Dania, and Dania was 0.2 faster than Tyndall. But yeah, definitely those three are the class of the field at the moment. But after the pit stops, Derek Tyndall's fallen 16 seconds adrift of this battle for the lead. So I'm not sure if it was took too much fuel or just had a bad in-lap or out-lap. But regardless, as we saw, Damien Dania is using that 1.5 second shorter pit stop to catapult himself back into the battle for this lead with about 8 minutes to go now.
Yeah, I'm having a look at Tyndall's time in his stall, 15.65 seconds. By far the longest out of all the prototype drivers. So as you said, maybe a little extra fuel load for him, or maybe he changed the front tires only on that car's in. I'm not sure, but either way, he's fallen back, still comfortably ahead of James Watson by about 8.5 seconds. Joshua Rutherford another 15 seconds back of them. So things fairly spread out in the I almost called them GTPs. In the Daytona Prototype field, over in GT3, Joshua Monacek still leading the way, 20 seconds ahead of Corey Rutherford. Rutherford was able to get in and off pit road and still stay ahead of Victor Aldrich. In fact, holding about 14 seconds over him for final step on the podium. So hats off to Corey Rutherford. I wasn't sure if he's going to be able to do it, Zin, but he said, hold my beer, and I'm going to prove you guys wrong.
Yeah, definitely had a much shorter pit stop than our estimates were projecting before the pit stops happened. So well done to Corey. And as we suspected, even with our overestimation, Keanu Maduro was able to hold on to fourth place over Jordan Giroux. So decent points haul for him, thinking about the championship long term. With that lap 1 black flag and having to serve the penalty, and he's recovered to currently running fourth place at the moment. So I'm sure he'll be happy with the damage limitation that he's been able to do in the feature race. And as you said earlier, coupled with the points he'll get from the sprint race win, should be a overall nice round for him. But yeah, closest battle on track is our top 2 in Corvette DP class, currently sitting about 7 or 8 tenths apart between Hill and Dania. And with 6 minutes to go, Rob, I'm not sure what to expect from these two.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm wondering if Dania has kind of backed off a little bit, just kind of cool the tires down to work up for a charge here later in the race. But looks like Corey Rutherford had an incident after we were just talking to him. Just taking a look and see what happened to him as he's exiting the old hairpin back onto the track. He's going to slide it around, keeps it off the wall, but luckily for him, he had a 14-second gap over Victor Aldrich, although that gap now down to only 4.2 seconds. So Rutherford can't afford another mistake like that if he wants to bring home the second step here in second step on the podium, here in GT3.
Yeah, still a very good result for him so far compared to how his Mexico City race went, both the heat race and the feature race. So they'll look to try and not make any more mistakes, but they're going to have this hotly contested battle for the overall lead coming up on them very shortly here, as we see Christopher Hill running a defensive line, holding Dania back at bay for yet another lap.
Yeah, we haven't seen the moves by Damian Dania the last few laps, showing the nose, trying to outbrake Christopher Hill into turn 1. So it looks like he's calmed down a little bit here on the all-out send. I don't want to toot my own horn here, Zin, but I think I'm right. I think he's holding back here, building up to a last lap charge. We saw where he kind of backed out into turn 1 on the last lap in the heat race, hoping for something through that middle straight to make the move. We'll see now, maybe if he doesn't hold down the last lap, tries to make that move a little early on.
Yeah, and he's seen what we've seen, that Hill has not been flawless this race, with a couple of lockups here and there. And so Dania maybe taking the strategy of lulling Christopher into a false sense of security and see if he makes another mistake later on. But I fully expect when it gets down to maybe 2 laps to go for that throttle get turned fully back up to top notch, and him to go back on the attack. And as they're closing in on GT car, he might try and use him as a pick here as he looks to the inside.
Oof, a little bit of a lock up.
Right front.
Yeah, right front locks up. Corey Rutherford going to bail off into the grass, not to get involved in that battle. Doesn't want anything to do with getting wrecked by either one of those guys. Dania, unfortunately, he went for the moves in. I said maybe he's going to try and make that move a little earlier. I didn't think it would be with about 3 laps to go, but he's showing us that he's going to start pushing forward. So keep an eye on this battle. As you said earlier, it's our closest battle on track, although the battle between Rutherford and Aldrich, not all that far separated between the two of them. Still about 5.7 seconds. As I say that, Corey Rutherford's starting to find a little bit of pace. He's pulling it ahead, but see, our leader, Joshua Monacek, might not have taken enough fuel here, Zin. He's had to come back in for a second stop.
Oh, that would be a big change. I don't know if he has a big enough lead, although with that spin from Rutherford, it definitely helps him. But I don't see any flags for incident points or anything, so I can only suspect that, yeah, it might be a fuel issue. As that
Yeah,
car's not running, he's running out of fuel.
He is out of fuel. Our leader in GT3 rolling down into his box. Corey Rutherford quickly eating into that gap. As there he goes across the line. He's going to take over top spot in GT3 here. Monacek out of his stall. He's in danger of Aldrich taking that spot away too as well. And he is. Monacek going to fall down into third in class.
Wow, that is a big shakeup in GT3 from a fuel calculation mishap from new driver Joshua Monacek there in his McLaren. I'm sure he's got to be kicking himself or firing his crew chief or doing something after that. As we see our leaders go by the spun car of I think that's Travis Fleming there, parked going the wrong way on the apex there.
The pink Whitney machine back on track just ahead of our GT3 leader, so he'll get himself up and going. So we're gonna have this lap plus one more for the battle in Corvette C7 Daytona Prototype. That's a mouthful of a car name, but that's what we're racing. Christopher Hill currently leading the way. Damian Dania trying to take that spot away. This is how they finished in feature number or heat number one. We're in the feature now, 40 minutes. We've doubled up the length of the heat race. And it looks like this could come down to the same two drivers, potentially the same gap here. Barney waving that white flag one more time around for these drivers.
Yeah, I'm expecting Damien to send it here into turn one. Not close enough, though. He was thinking about it, though. That car was squirming on the brakes. He wanted to really bad, but Christopher Hill did not get the run he wanted through turn one and turn two there. That's going to open up the door for Damien. Oh, they're going to touch. Oh, we knew this was coming, Rob. It was only a matter of time.
Oh, man, they both spin in turn three. So they're going to get back on track. Christopher Hill going to get back out ahead of Dania. We'll see if Dania has time to close that gap. But let's take another quick look here. What happened there's in as Dania knew he had to take a chance. Thought he saw an opening up the inside of Hill. Locked up, got a little squirrely, and around they both went. But thankfully, looks like only a little bit of minor damage between the two of them. But Christopher Hill leading the way. Half the lap left here to go for him to go back-to-back here this evening.
Yeah, we had a feeling that was going to happen. We just didn't know when or where. And yeah, as I said, Christopher Hill did not get the run he wanted through turn one and two, which set that possibility up for Dania to look to the inside into turn four there. And yeah, Dania just got a little bit over aggressive, had that lock up of the right front and into the side of the 101 machine he went. But Hill recovers. He's going to take the checkered flag here tonight ahead of Damian Dania.
Excellent stuff there from both those drivers, both races. Love to see it. Tyndall going to come home in third. Corey Rutherford crossing just ahead of him, takes the win in GT3. Victor Aldrich, Monacek right up in behind him. Is Monacek going to get a run to the line? Looks like Aldrich going to hold on to that spot. He'll get second. Monacek going to have to settle for third.
Yeah, Keanu Madero is going to recover from a lap one penalty to finish fourth. Good points haul, all things considered, for him tonight. So he'll look to extend his GT3 championship lead. And Brian Dees, he's going to come around the final corner to finish in fifth place. And I believe he is the last of our runner. Oh, no, Jordan Giroux is still out there, I believe.
Yeah, Jordan Giroux is, and Joshua Rutherford across the line now for him. And then looks like Giroux, once he crosses the line, that'll make everything official. And we'll take a look at our final results here from week number 3. So it's 2 races in, 20 minutes, comes down to 13 100ths. The second race, they end up finishing half a second between them. Hats off to Christopher Hill and Damian Dania. Well done here tonight. Corey Rutherford taking the GT3 feature race. Keanu Madero taking the heat race. Excellent racing top to bottom in this one. You'll love to see it.
Absolutely. Well done to all parties tonight. It was fantastic racing here at historical Indy road course.
Let's take a look at our results with Christopher Hill taking top spot again over Damian Dania. This time a few extra tenths between them. Derek Tyndall going to round out the podium in third with Watson Dees, Rutherford, Fleming, Henry, Gunter, Hart. I guess Hart, Seats, and Curdy did not make the grid for the feature race. Unfortunately for Rob Henry and Brody Gunter out early on. Over in GT3, we saw Corey Rutherford taking top spot ahead of Victor Aldrich, Joshua Matichek. A little bit of fuel issues there at the end. He's going to come home third in class. Maduro, Journeau, Marasco, Estep, and Hamlin round out our GT3 field. So let's see, looks like we have a number of drivers here waiting to chat Zin. We'll get to them in a few moments, but beforehand, we'll just take and remind you, if you're interested in joining the league, they are recruiting. You can find the link to their Discord in the description of the video. Hop in and get signed up, get yourself on track. We could always use some more racers. But that said, let's bring in our back-to-back winner here tonight, Christopher Hill, to catch up with Brian Zinn.
Yeah, Christopher, fantastic racing from you guys tonight. Took the sprint race by 13 thousandths of a second over Damian Dania, and then everything kind of finally boiled over between you two there at the end of the feature race. Talk us through that incident there and what your thoughts were.
Yeah, I mean, first off, got to say, thanks to him to doing the gentlemanly thing. I mean, he could have probably motored on and took the win, and instead he did the right thing there and kind of yielded. So that was really I appreciated that, the sportsmanship on that side of it. It was I thought he might take a look there. I probably would have taken a look there, but it was a little too ambitious, I think. And I just didn't. I tried to leave him a little bit of space, but it just was a little bit too much of a lunge. So it is what it is. Like I said, it all in the end, he did the right thing, and so we ended up having a nice race and not having any bad blood moving forward from that. So that's good.
Yeah, absolutely. And talk us through when your mirrors are full of Damian, what's your defense process looking like there? Were you anxious or worried at all, or did you feel pretty confident being able to hold off his charges?
Once I figured out kind of the rhythm of where I needed to be to make sure he didn't get past me into turn one, I kind of knew the rest of the places he wasn't gonna, unless I made a mistake, he wasn't gonna have a good enough run. So I didn't feel too stressed on it from that standpoint, just because, like you said, once you figure out like, okay, where do I have to be? What type of gap, do I have to have, and all that kind of stuff. It's a little easier to kind of fill out and know that you have a chance at it. But there's always a chance of making a mistake, and I definitely had my fair share of moments. I had a point there towards the end where I was starting to get close to the 1 second gap, and I'm like, man, if I could just get another tenth or two, and then I completely blew a section and was like threw away a half a second. It was just like, man, I might have been able to break the draft if it had gotten a little bit more, but it all worked out. All in all, it was a great night. Super pleased with the result.
Yeah, we were talking up in the booth that you guys could catch each other, but neither one of you seemed like to be able to, once you got in front, be able to pull away from each other. So definitely evenly matched between you and Damian tonight. But looking ahead, Nürburgring GP is next week. What are your thoughts heading across the pond to a more technical track?
That's been a good track for me in different sims. I mean, back in the Gran Turismo days, I think that's where I won my first kind of major league night thing back when I used to do that stuff. And I don't know, I've always had decent results there, so hopefully it carries over to this. For something about it usually clicks, so I don't know. We'll see how it goes, but I don't think it's a bad track for me. So that's hopeful to maybe keep the streak going here a little longer and hopefully extend the points lead a little more, and hopefully if we run into some barriers down the road of more difficult tracks that we we got enough of a buffer there by the time we get to that, but
yeah, totally understand that. Well, before we let you go for the night, any people you'd like to give a shout out to?
I always got to thanks James Watson and his setup shop, Team Watson Racing Setup Shop. If you're looking for setups, hit him up. He's good heck of a guy, and he's got a really nice shop there. Does some pretty good job on that. I'm gonna mention Precision Racing Instruction. That's my it's my company. If anybody's looking for a tune-up as a driver, we help people in the real world and also in the sim, and got some also exciting stuff coming in the future. Just gotta wrap up my book here pretty soon, hopefully, and working on some other exciting stuff of maybe bringing some people overseas to go racing and do some different stuff. So we'll let you guys know about that once that's all lined up. Thanks you guys for putting the video up, and can't wait to watch it back, see how it looks, and thanks to the guys for hosting the league. So yeah, it's a great night. We'll see you guys next week.
Absolutely. Well, there's your winner in both races tonight, Christopher Hill. We will catch you next week over in Germany at the Nürburgring GP circuit.
Sounds great. Have a good.
It was our back-to-back winner, Christopher Hill. It's some interesting stuff there as far as the instruction. Sounds like he's got a book he's working on. Looking forward to hearing more about that. But...
man's most interesting, the most interesting man in the world over there.
Absolutely. Let's take a look at let's talk to the driver he was battling with all night, Damien Dania. Damien, you tried 2 races in a row to get ahead of Christopher Hill at the checker flag. Came down to within 1300ths for race 1. Race 2, half a second between the two of you. I guess all in all, heck of a night here racing.
I mean, yeah, it wasn't too bad, I guess. I definitely could have won both races for sure, but yeah, no, I would say I prepared quite a bit for this race compared to the other ones so far, but this track just does not suit me. I hate it. I cannot drive fast around this track. Every time I try it, I always fail. So definitely could have been a lot better, but yeah, second place in both races is a good haul of points. That first race was a lot of fun, second race was a lot of fun. A little bit unfortunate about the incident there, it's my fault. But we're okay with each other, so it's doesn't really matter. So I'm all happy.
Yeah, Christopher Hill was definitely appreciative of you letting him get back out ahead. It was just a racing deal there, it looked like, from our end. But we head to a completely different track next week, Nürburgring GP. How are you feeling about heading over there?
I think I'm relatively confident around that track, so I should be okay. I mean, endurance race, so it'll be a little bit different. Today I actually almost ran out of fuel, so I had to do a lot of fuel save because my spotter broke. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen again next time. But yeah, it should be okay. Hopefully, get another good haul of points. Hopefully, finish in the top 3 in both races again. Give it a shot. Yeah,
you're in tight in the championship battle, so every point's going to matter coming down to the end. But before we let you go here, Damien, any shout-outs you want to give to anybody watching at home?
Yeah, big shout out to Joshua. Unfortunate about that running out of fuel there. Big thanks to Mom, big thanks to Dad. Yeah, big shout out to Chris Hill. That was a really fun race, so I just want to give him props for that. And yeah, that's all I got right now.
Excellent stuff, Damien. Best of luck to you next week in round number 4. Take care.
Yep. See you.
That was Damien Dania. Let's bring in our GT3 winner from race number 1, Keon Majuro, to catch up with Brian Zinn.
Yeah, Keone, tonight's sprint race winner. You definitely had that race in control, and then you had the penalty for the second race, and you were able to recover from P4. Talk us through what your strategy was, your game plan was, especially in that feature race with the penalty tonight.
Keone, do you have us? It sounds like no mic there. We will move him back out, and instead let's bring in our feature race winner in GT3, Corey Rutherford, to catch up with Brian Zinn.
Yeah, Chief Admin Corey Rutherford, your feature race GT3 winner tonight. Corey, heck of a improvement compared to Mexico City last week. So congratulations on your win, but talk us through what your thought process was, and especially seeing the McLaren of Joshua Maticek dive into the pits there with a couple of minutes to go because he was out of fuel.
I was trying to push to close the gap. That should have been his win. I feel so bad that he ran out of fuel, but at the same time, I got the win, and a win, a win's a win. It's kind of bittersweet because it's sweet because this is actually my first ever points paying league race win in my entire time on iRacing. So that's awesome to finally tick that box off my iRacing list. But this race should have been Josh's. He outclassed me. I made too many mistakes through the course of the race. It should have been his win, but I'll take it.
Yeah, massive congratulations, especially if it's your first league win on iRacing. But yeah, big improvement, as I said, over Mexico City. So you're riding that high right now, heading into Nürburgring GP next week. What's your thoughts on Nürburgring circuit, and how are you feeling heading into next week now?
I like the Nürburgring track, and I think I finally have wrapped my head around the Ferrari, and especially how the fixed setup drives with the Ferrari. I feel like I can push it a little bit more, so I'm hoping that when it comes to Nürburgring, I can at least keep pace like I was tonight, and hopefully be there to pounce if there's mistakes or if something happens.
Absolutely. Well, before we let you go for the night, any folks you'd love to get a shout out to?
I got to thank our league sponsors, Purple Haze Auto Sport, an individual that watches all of our races. Thank you so much for supporting the league. My brother, Mullet Music Productions, that's Joshua's music channel. If you haven't heard anything, listen to his stuff on anywhere you get your music. Big thanks to my family, my dad, my mom, my brothers Joshua and Adam, and all the support they give me for doing this hobby of mine week in, week out, and over the past several years. And then, of course, thank you for you guys for coming on this season to broadcast our league. And you guys have been knocking it out of the park so far with what I've been watching. So thank you for everything you guys do.
Absolutely. Well, that's your feature race winner tonight, Corey Rutherford. And we will see you next week across the pond over in Germany.
Yep. And see you then. And I hope to get to talk to you again next week. Let's hope.
That was Corey Rutherford. We got time for another couple interviews here. Let's quickly bring in our second place finisher in GT3 feature race, Victor Aldrich. Victor, you were able to take that second spot away from Joshua when he came in for the pits, but it looks like he was charging at the end, the last lap. He almost caught you at the end. Did you think you were going to be able to hold him off?
Boy, I got pretty fortunate, not gonna lie. I saw Joshua had to pit. I guess he was short on fuel, and just hoping I had enough of a gap to even pass him in the pits because he was so far ahead, and got out ahead of him and saw he was right behind me with like 2 laps to go. And so just I kind of was a little rattled, I think, or the tires were going off. It was a combination of both, but the car was pushing like crazy, especially down the Holman straight, that exit to get onto that straight. It was just really pushing hard, and I left down some real mean tire marks back there, but just trying to get off corner and hold him behind me, and just barely was able to. I just kind of, through those last S's before the oval, I just made sure to hit the apexes, and I knew if I just parked the car in the apexes, there's nothing that Joshua could really do at that point. But felt bad for him because he was definitely deserving of the win tonight, and I just kind of got lucky and it fell into my lap here. So happy to be talking to you guys, but definitely a bit of luck tonight.
Yeah, it's an old saying, to finish first you must finish. So to do that, you need enough fuel. But we were talking during the broadcast, you're in the Acura. It's a car that's kind of fallen by the wayside as far as use in a lot of the GT3 series. Is it a car that you drive predominantly in GT3, or is it something you just kind of pick for this season to hop into?
Yeah, so I basically just started getting into sports car racing recently. I've primarily been on the open wheel side of things here on the iRacing service, and so when I was looking for a car, I was looking for something that would handle similarly to an open wheel car, and from everything I was reading and understanding, this really handled well over the curbs, and kind of that mid-engine style was able to have good balance all around the car, kind of equal all across. And so I thought it fit my driving style pretty well. It's more along the lines of what I'm looking for. It's not high powered. I definitely noticed, like, sometimes on straightaways I'll get pulled by other cars or classes, but through the twisty parts, it's really nimble and quick, and can really find itself on the brakes if you just kind of back up the corners, which I tend to do a lot. I'm a more conservative driver, backing up, slowing down and then getting the exit off. And so that's exactly what this car is good for. And just been finding a lot of luck with that, and taking advantage of those curbs too, that I see a lot of other guys unfortunately not have the same luck with. So
Yeah, absolutely. Seems to be working out well for you. But before we let you go here, Victor, any shout outs you want to give to anybody possibly watching at home, cheering you on?
yeah, of course. Thank you so much for you guys for putting on the show. You do a great job, and love watching it back. And shout out to my family, for watching as well. And Team Watson Racing setups. My teammates tonight, Chris, James. We also got Dan Miglin. He wasn't able to make it this week, but great team there. And thanks to Corey Rutherford and Joshua Rutherford, everyone in the series. A bunch of great drivers that just do this, and clean racing. And it's a great format too, with the 2 races each week. You kind of get a second chance, say if something doesn't go right. But I'm falling in love with this car, the NSX. It was one of my favorite cars growing up as a child, so shout out to this car too. And I love the paint job I put on it. It's really shines throughout the night and the daytime. It's one of my favorites that I've done. And promote my my own product, or that I paint there, Dizzy V Design. So if you ever need anything, just shout me out on Instagram. Also Dizzy V Music. If you're into hip hop at all, I also just released my own album. So it's called The Last Show on Earth. Check it out. All major streaming platforms. It's a lot of hip hop, aggressive, kind of alternative, something different. So hopefully you like it. And then got a few shows coming up, so I'm really excited, and hopefully we keep doing well in the series.
Excellent stuff. Well, best of luck to you going forward, Victor. Hopefully we
Thanks,
see
man.
you back up on the podium again towards the rest of the season. Take care.
Right on. I appreciate it. You have a good one.
That was Victor Aldrich. Let's bring in our final interview for the night. We've saved him to catch up with his buddy Brian Zinn. We got Derek Tyndall, our 3rd place finisher in the feature race.
Derek, my man, good showing in your first race in the Corvette Daytona Prototype. Talk us through your experience. It's not a car that gets run very much. I know you're doing a lot of work this week to try and get up to speed with it, but talk us through, especially those opening laps in both races, going 3-4 wide into turn 1.
Extreme force feedback. Have no idea how to drive the car. I think that was like maybe the 4th or 5th time I ever touched it, so I have no idea how to drive that dang thing. And then the second race was with like the fuel level. Race Labs didn't calculate it, so I had no clue. So I just took full fuel. That was it. That was completely.
We were talking at the top of the broadcast that especially with the long pit lane at Indy, some of the fuel calculators have issues calculating proper fuel levels. So it looks like you might have been a victim of that as well. But looking forward to next week at Nürburgring GP. Based on how tonight went, what is your expectations for a more technical track?
Confident, because I actually know the track. I don't know Indy historical at all. This was again like the 4th time I've ever touched this track at all. So Indy GP, or the Nürburgring GP, should be a little bit easier, and I've got a good idea of how this car drives now. It's weird. I don't know how to explain it. It's not like regular prototypes, but it grips very easily on the throttle.
Awesome. Well, before we let you go, as we're running out of time, anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Just my 7 idiot friends that we're going to run Bathurst with.
All right. Well, good run tonight. Podium in the feature race, and strong momentum heading into Nürburgring GP next week. So we will see you next week.
Sounds good.
That was Derek Tyndall, P3 in the feature race, and first race of the season for him here at ASRL. That's going to wrap things up for us here at Indy Historical, I think is what we're going with on this one, Zinn. So we're going to head across the pond over to Germany to visit the last track used for the German F1, Nürburgring. Should be a ton of fun. It'll be interesting to see multi-class racing here with our new versus old machinery. But we'll catch you same time, same place next time. For myself, Rob Campbell, and Brian's in the booth with me. This has been Racers Nexus. We'll catch you next week. Bye for now.